So, James, thank you very much for coming in and agreeing to do this podcast. Ad hoc, I might add, by the way. While you're over visiting for our dealer summit, in which we're very proud to be hosting here in AccurA Diamond. So, James is the Vice President of ICS. These are the people who present to us and supply us with our ICS concrete cutting chainsaws and other innovative cutting equipment. And we're very proud to be a dealer for the last 14 years for ICS. So, James, you're very welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Such a pleasure to be here. My first trip to Ireland, and I can't imagine a better event to attend for my first trip here.
Brilliant, James. James, you know we've planned this obviously last year in Boma, the big construction show that everybody knows. And we planned this because obviously it gives us a platform where we get a little bit more intimate and hands-on with the cutting ourselves, where obviously Boma is a platform for meeting new people. So how many trade shows like Boma do ICS do roughly a year?
We probably don't do any trade shows like Boma because it's so big. But we large trade shows, we do about 7 or 8 a year. World of Concrete is every year in Vegas. That's probably the biggest one that's on the every year cycle. I mean, there's several like Boma where it happens every several years, either 2 or 3 years. But World of Concrete is sort of our staple for sure, and then a bunch of smaller international shows and quite a bit in the U.S. as well.
Okay. And ICS are part of a bigger organisation. Which organisation is that?
Yeah, so ICS's parent company is Oregon Tool. So they're the largest wood chain manufacturer in the world. So wood chain and bar developed in the same exact factory. In fact, all of our diamond chain are made in the headquarters in Portland, Oregon.
So your customer typically, would it be likes of Stihl, Echo, Husqvarna?
Yeah, so for Oregon Tool?
Yes.
Yeah. So they both have the Oregon brand out there, but they also supply pretty much every OEM out there that you can think of. They are probably supplying chain and bar too. There's some exceptions like Stihl, who makes their own chain. But it's a huge business. So
for you to become a vice president and you're so young, how did you actually get involved in the business? For other people out there that are saying, Jesus, I'd love to get involved. What made you get involved in this side of business? How did you get involved? What inspired you?
I like problems. And I think luckily our industry is out there trying to solve problems. And I've sort of just kind of chased whatever the biggest problem was. I find that really fun. I don't like being bored. And so I just sort of stumbled upon this by chasing the biggest problem over time. And boy, it's been a heck of a lot of fun.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So ICS, did you step into ICS from being in part of Oregon beforehand? Is that how it happened?
Yeah. So I joined Oregon Tool. Was in a different role for about a year, helping out with some special projects. And then the opportunity arose to join over on ICS's side. And luckily, we've got a fantastic sales team and a really good manufacturing team. And then I brought over, I originally started as an accountant. And worked my way through finance at a bunch of procurement jobs. Have been lucky enough to kind of work all over the world with suppliers all over the world. A lot of some really significant size negotiations, and just a lot of fantastic people have led me to this point.
And obviously, being from the States, is your office far from your home? So when we get to next is fuel. Obviously, is an issue for most people. Would it be an issue for you being coming from the States to fuel, or do you have to come into the office every day?
So I am kind of in the center of the country. My job involves a lot of travel. And so we've got manufacturing spots kind of all over the United States and customers all over the world. And so I'm on the road probably every other week, but mostly flying. So I'm in the center of the U.S., in Denver, Colorado, one of the biggest airports in the United States. And so it makes it very easy for me to get on the road.
Where you got my whiskey from?
That's right.
Thank you very much. Beautiful bottle of whiskey. Thank you.
Yeah.
Denver, yeah.
Looking forward to cracking that one open.
Oh, certainly am, actually. Yeah, I will definitely look forward to it. But yesterday, so we met up yesterday in the Hilton Hotel. We've actually had the start of the summit there where you put some questions to the floor. And it was nice to actually see we're actually common. Some of the problems are common with our European friends. And obviously in the States as well. But we're talking about professional users not using the concrete chainsaw, that they prefer other methods, because obviously the chainsaw, while it will do the job and do it quick and do a tidy job for tidying up corners particularly and for depth of cut, it was nice to hear that other companies were in the same, that they'll still prefer to use a wall saw. Why do you think that is, James? What's your opinion on?
I think part of it's going to be training. I think it's getting harder and harder to train the labor force and get really experienced cutters out there. And so if you don't use the right water, if you tension it like a wood chainsaw, the experience can be really poor. And then for some folks, it gets really regional. Some regions would rather spend a lot of time preparing the site, drilling into the wall, but they don't want to have anything in their hands, right? They don't want to have to hold up the heavy equipment as you do the cut. I think what folks really underestimate is once you put that chainsaw into the wall is holding up the chainsaw. And so that really takes a lot of the weight out of the cut.
It does, particularly when you're circular cutting. Like, cutting concrete is not a nice job for anybody.
No.
I've done it just in demonstrations. I'm glad and have a deep and profound respect for anybody involved that has to remove and cut concrete and so on, particularly for window opes and door opes, because at least the chainsaw can actually rest in the cut. But you should be taking periodic rests while you're doing the cutting as well. Obviously, give yourself a bit of rest, give the power tool a bit of rest, particularly when you're refueling. But what I'd like to say is the professional users out there that obviously they sometimes find it challenging to get paid by the QS because you just took a chainsaw. Sure, anybody could have. Yeah. That's the perception, and it's a common perception we all had yesterday.
Yeah, certainly. It's such an interesting concept because ultimately the customer hired you to do a job. They really shouldn't be overly concerned about how you do that job or how long it takes you. But there is a perception, certainly, if I'm in and out in 10 minutes, then I should probably only give you €3 or 10 euros, right? I shouldn't give you 100 euros for the skill that you brought to the job. I think that's really talking about the total value that you provide, the quality of the cut, the cleanliness of the cut, and the fact that, when we don't have to anchor into a wall, you don't have to disrupt the rest of it. You can come in and be very surgical with the tool, and just get the job done and get out of there in a brief way, and not disrupt for that homeowner or that business owner or construction site for an extended period of time, which is valuable.
An ICS chainsaw has proven itself, as other concrete chainsaws have, that it is sometimes the only job for a tool for the job, as it were. Like, there's been certain applications where we've been brought in as expertise. You've been brought in as expertise. We discussed that yesterday. For instance, for Ishka Aaron, for after COVID, cutting out the ice was the only tool to do the job because they couldn't use a standard chainsaw. So it does have particular applications, for doing very, very tidy work and difficult work that nothing else will do. So we touched on yesterday that professional users, they shouldn't just have one particular set of tools. They should have an array of tools for different jobs, as you said. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you've got a wonderful shop downstairs with a ton of different tools and blades and bits, and it really is true that you need to have the right tools for the job. It's no different in concrete cutting than it is on almost any other industry. You can get things done a variety of ways to really be efficient and good at what you're doing and make sure you get the best end result. You need to have that right tool for that application, and that generally means that you need a mixture of tools for the situation. So we don't think the chainsaw is the right answer for every concrete cutting application out there. We certainly wouldn't recommend to cut a mile or a kilometer of highway with a chainsaw. But
which way we have a road saw.
That's right, absolutely.
Or in the States, we discovered yesterday, we call them in the States a flat saw.
Right, absolutely. So you have to have that right tool, and that's how you make sure that you get the job done right, but also how you stay safe. There are certain applications that just make sense for certain tools, and there's some fantastic uses for the chainsaw. And
we touched on yesterday as well, we discussed yesterday as well about that. Sometimes you have to say no to, like we said no to the customer at the counter, this is not the tool for you. It's not the cheapest way to cook concrete, but sometimes it's the only way to cook concrete. Because everybody's asking the same question. Oh, how much is the chain? How long is it going to last?
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding, if you're the contractor, what is that customer really wanting to do, right? What are they wanting to accomplish? And like everything up into your team here in the shop, not just selling somebody a solution, it's making sure what is your problem? What are you actually trying to accomplish? And perhaps a chainsaw is the absolute perfect tool, and perhaps it's not, right? But that's why we have a wide range of equipment to be able to fit those different needs. But making sure that you understand what that customer wants, if you're a contractor, or for you, understanding what that contractor is looking to do out in the field is incredibly important.
And concrete and stone is not homogeneous, so obviously there's different hardness and different types of aggregates from different regions. And we touched on that yesterday, and particularly with the global team that we've over us now from the States, from other parts of Europe. It was one thing we were all discussing yesterday was the difference in the concrete hardness and rebar and what offsets it against different concrete and so on, and what we considered green or fresh concrete and how it reacts with the tool. But you have a fantastic range of, I have to say, chains coming up now. I'm delighted to see, and I'm even delighted to see even the names even being used are going to reflect. It's going to make it more user friendly, and that interface is going to be fantastic as well. Can you expand a little bit on why you actually did that, and obviously with the new packaging coming out?
Yeah, so kind of like having the right tool, even within that tool, there's different situations as you talk about. It can be high PSI or high Newton concrete with lots of rebar, and for that situation, you would probably want to gear more towards some of our more premium chains and some higher horsepower power heads, chainsaws. If you're doing some either almost no rebar or light rebar or lower PSI concrete, some of the say cheaper, right, the more affordable tools are going to be able to do that just fine. So I think there is a match that tool for the job also is relevant within our tool category, and making sure that I'm not using a $5,000 tool to do a $2 job, and making sure I'm not using a $2 tool to do a $5,000 job. And having experts like your team that can really steer you through, hey, understanding this is the problem you're trying to solve, well then here's how we can sell you and really show you what the right tools are so that you're going to like that experience. If you're, the best example is if you're trying to get somewhere really, really fast, you probably don't buy an 18-wheeler.
True.
But if you need to move a lot of stuff, you don't buy a Corvette. And so the cost isn't always as important as what is the job that you're trying to do and matching that up.
Exactly. No, I like the new range of saws that's going on, the additional depth we're looking at. Like, obviously cutting concrete has to be a certain thickness of the chain for safety, the kerf. We're looking to see if you could make it thinner. The new packs and the new chain out with the stiff links on it, like, it's going to make it all a better feeling for the operative, like. And there is a massive difference in the chainsaws of today, the concrete chainsaws, particularly ICS, and the chain offering compared to what there was legacy, say, 20, 30 years ago. You're constantly innovating now in the last 5 years in particular.
Yeah, it's really a focus. We're blessed to have some really wonderful engineers in the construction industry in general. We can learn from each other. Gosh, how much water do we have to use back in the day to even try to get a cut done at all? And the evolution of both diamond segments as well as the power heads make it to where you don't have to use nearly as much water as you used to have with all the extra pump cans and everything. And so you still need water for the application, absolutely. But you can really optimize around the products and the solutions and give the user a better experience while also making it a little less complicated over time.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a fun time to be in the industry and to be with the chainsaws. Like, as I said, we're doing it 14 years, and the legacy that was left behind was guys weren't using the correct flow of water. Once we educate them to use the correct flow of water, it's a fantastic tool. There's obviously some guys will take it, as we said yesterday, and throw it on the shelf, and will forget about it on a particular job. Like, we had a customer need to cut out reinforced joint pockets into a wall. And he said, if you got a tool, it says, you bought a chainsaw of us 2 months ago. Yeah. They're not thinking laterally or not thinking realistically the way they should be, We're having a great day today as well doing testing. You can probably hear on the microphone coming across chainsaws outside. So we're cutting in all sorts of material. Power Grit, there's Power Grit now. That's a massive platform for ICS, and it has been for how many years now? 10, 12 years?
Yeah, we're over a decade now for Power Grit, and we continue to innovate there as well. But we love Power Grit not only for the performance that it does, but the safety features. The fact that the reduced kickback is just incredibly important. Unfortunately, there's just way too many injuries out there that can occur from pipes pinching on and kickback related to circular blades. And Power Grit's a great solution to keep people safe out there. And it's man, every time we take it into a new market, it takes a little bit for people to understand it, but then after you understand it, it just takes off because it's a safer product, it's an easier product, And then, as you know, a lot less excavation of the trench too, which is
Absolutely.
really important. You can attack the pipe from the top.
But people don't even understand, even if the chain, for all intents and purposes, if it did snap, people think it's going to come back and whip it. It actually snaps forward. In the very rare occasion that it would happen, but that's from an operative doing something wrong, or pinching the chain, not looking out for the particular problems that you can encounter with any chain. The great thing about the chainsaw is how safety it is. You're actually using the nose. The amount of guys' perception think you cut with the base for cutting concrete, for instance, and they have it. Well, did you not listen to the day when you were in the shop that day? We said you used it's very, very important to use the actual nose of the saw first. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that, I think people get the perception, they think of chainsaws and they think of those cutters on there and actually like chipping out or cutting wood. But for our application, it's much more of a grinding application. And so we're not actually cutting, we're really grinding away the concrete, if you really think about it, or the pipe, ductile pipe. And so it leads to a much safer application and less injuries.
And it's an abrasive tool, not a sharps.
Exactly.
So we constantly have some contractors coming into us and they need to do a particular job, but the health and safety guy on the side is not allowing it. Oh no, it's a chainsaw. It's a power cutter.
Yep.
It looks like a chainsaw. It doesn't have a brake the way a chainsaw is. As soon as you take your finger off the throttle, it stops.
Right.
But by God, what a tool it is for getting the job done. Opening up windows, getting square cuts, getting it perfect. We've actually had a couple of customers saying to us, Brian, if it wasn't for that saw, or Gary or Alex, if it wasn't for that saw, we couldn't have completed the task. We don't know how we would have done it beforehand. It's just there are other power cutters on the market there, but certainly the ICS platform and the chains, once they're matched up perfect for the application, which is what you're trying to do now with this new system that you're bringing out, that you're here to launch, it's going to make it so much easier for customers to identify what tool they need for the application.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is unique. You kind of covered quite a few there, but the reach too. You can get a good 30 inches. You have to help me with the
30 30 inches, 50 centimeters, isn't it? What's 30 inches, 30 offhand? So
it should be right on. It should be 50 centimeters.
67 centimeters.
67. So being able to get that reach is just something that's really difficult to do with a diamond blade, or almost impossible if you're using like a handsaw or something as an alternative. And so depending on your application, it might be the only tool that gets the job done.
Because as you were saying earlier on, I love that word, by the way, I'm going to rob that in your surgical.
Yeah.
Where you can actually pinpoint. So particularly for pipes and connecting pipes, and Dublin is going to have a massive job in the next couple of years, where there's been €1 billion being promised from Irish Water's perspective to repair all the sub-water. The ICS chainsaw, in my opinion, is the only saw that Irish Water should be looking at. But obviously their budgets are constrained. But this billion is going to help, as I was telling you earlier on about the infrastructure. Some of our infrastructure is 200 years old. Plus you're talking old lead pipes, steel pipes, asbestos pipes. The thing about the ICS power cutter is the 695 and the 890s and so on, and the F4 system, once you put on that power grid, you've had fantastic success all over the world. Ireland is being lagging behind.
Yeah. I think sometimes, too, as we talk about having the right tool for the job, it's understanding the entirety of that job, right? And so there is the consumable piece that you're using as you're doing the cut, but thinking about, what does that consumable piece allow me to do? How much quicker can I get in and out of this situation? What is the excavation requirements of the different tool options? And so is the tool expensive, or is it actually incredibly cheap when you think about the entirety of the project? I think that's where we see, on top of the safety aspect, where we really see some massive gains is when we can really walk through folks the benefits from the start to the end of the entirety of the project, not just the cut. Because at the end of the day, that cut, whether you're using a circular saw or a chainsaw, you're talking a couple of minutes. But how long does it take you to actually do that entirety of that project? And the excavation, that's really where you win.
Okay. So, as an accountant that's been cutting and is involved, you've done a lot of travel and you're still continuing a lot of travel. You have a young family, I take it. Do you like the travel aspect? Do you like going different places?
I like meeting different people. I think the traveling is fine. Every hotel and inside of an airplane starts to look the same over time, but you get to just meet some fantastic people, and because of the industry that we're in, you just meet some really great salt of the earth people that are happy that you're there to kind of help solve their problem, or to tell you about their problem that we're not solving today that we need to work on as an organization. But that connection is really what makes it exciting.
And what do you do to kick back for time to relax? Like, obviously work was like, so getting away from work.
Yeah.
What do you do? What floats you about, James?
Man, I have 2 young kids. So I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then I've been married. This year will be 13 years.
Well done.
So really, it's spent a lot of time with them. My wife, I'm blessed to have her. She loves to go on a vacation, even if it's just going camping down the road, right? The idea of getting out, I probably wouldn't go anywhere if it wasn't for her. She really encourages me to do it. And so being able to get out, especially in nature, with the kids, both of my kids go a little crazy if they're inside for more than about 4 hours. And so the ability to get outside and enjoy it. I mix in a little golf every now and then. I'm still terrible, but I do enjoy it.
I tried golf once or twice. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
No, it did. I ended up having bad etiquette. It was actually through work as well. I was invited out in golf. I was like Pappy Gilmore. I didn't even have a jumper. I got a jumper. Got a long hat. It looked absolutely ridiculous. The bag I carried was like something from 1940s. So I'm on this very fancy, expensive golf club. All I was thinking about was the few points in the stake. I knew I wasn't going to enjoy myself. I got bored of the attention span of an ant, to be honest with you. And I was playing golf, and it was a pissy rainy day in Dublin, out by the coast. It was a links course. It was a really fabulous out in Howth. I think it was Howth links course, wherever it was, but out beside the beach. And all I was thinking, I'm freezing. I'm dressed up like a clown here. I don't have the right gear, don't have the right shoes. And a pair of runners that looked ridiculous. Like, it was like something my mama dressed me up in Easter years ago, you know. And I'm taking the swing. I'm not enjoying this, and I'm getting bored. But I happened to come on the green. I arrived onto the green, and there was a euro on the green.
Yeah.
You'd probably have a nickel or something to mark.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the marker. I was bending down and says, oh, geez, look, there's a euro. And I picked her up and put it in my pocket, like, and everybody looked at me, geez, what are you doing? They all had to laugh. I didn't realise. And then the captain was coming through. It was gas. The captain was coming through on this golf buggy, but I didn't realise the captain. And I was saying, who the fuck is he? Like, thinking he can skip the queue? That's the captain. You have to make way. He can get back to the queue, you know. No, the etiquette. So it didn't do well at the mobile phone. I was looking through the mobile phone. Didn't go too well. I was looking for, to be honest, greenhouses and stuff, even just to give me a bit of enjoyment, see if I could smash them. The shot wasn't good. I'm good with a rifle, I'm told, but I'm good with other aiming implements. But golf just wasn't for me, you know. So it definitely wasn't. And speaking of golf, what was your take on Tiger Woods, by the way?
Man, what a mess. It's just sort of unfortunate, right? I mean, yeah. I think he's the Michael Jordan of golf, and to know that somebody has that potential, and yet is facing so many struggles. I can't imagine what he's going through. It sounds like he's had a lot of back problems and a lot of issues that probably led to that. But I got to admit, it's quite the power play to have flipped your car, and the first call you do is to call the President of the United States as you're walking up before the police
last
even get there.
You want digging you out now, by the way.
Yes, but just to call the head of any country in that type of situation is something that I don't know how you get that number, and I hope I never need it, but it's quite unique.
And did you watch our own McIlroy win last week?
You know, I'm a big fan of his. I watched, there was a documentary that kind of walked through a bunch of golfers, and they covered him in that documentary, and I find him to be just a fantastic, genuine person trying to do things well. So excited to see him back to back. He had to have somebody else put the jacket on, because normally somebody else puts the jacket on. You're the prior winner, right?
Exactly.
Can't put it on your own back.
Can't put it on your own back. No. Well, no. Fair play to him. Delighted to see him doing well. It's fantastic. I'm very patriotic, as you can see. I love me Irish, and anything Irish and anybody Irish doing well, I'd like to big them up every time, every opportunity we get. But it was interesting to get your perspective to see how things were, especially in the golfing community after all the chat with Tiger Woods, like, you know. So because it's a big fall down, in fairness, like, and you know,
he's been out of it at this point for so long. I think it's almost the myth of Tiger Woods is more important than actually who he is today, right? And but There's been quite a few folks that, Michael Jordan, people came to watch him when he was on the Charlotte Hornets at the end. Like, you're like, well, he could barely get up and down the court, but it's still Michael Jordan, right? And it's still, like, I still want to go see him play. LeBron James is 41, 42, and he's still doing pretty good out there, but he will always draw a crowd, right? There's just some folks that no matter what, you want to go watch them do what they do, because they were the best in the world, at least at some point.
And obviously, you're watching the golf from a TV. Do you ever go to the? Do you ever watch the class? Like, do you ever get to the classics? Do you ever get tickets for the classics? Is that something that's?
Going back to having 2 young kids, I just don't have the ability to go do an event like that, really.
So what about TV? Did you get to watch a bit of TV?
Not too much anymore. I watch a little bit of American football. I think as my kids get older, I'm hoping that'll be something that we do together. But right now with the travel, it's really important that when I'm home, we focus on doing things together versus watching TV. As much as I do enjoy it, I miss it a little bit. It's worth the trade-off.
And Denver, I'd say it's a beautiful area. Obviously, John Denver, the singer, he sings about the place, doesn't he? And
yeah.
What's typical in Denver? What's your food in Denver? Like, what's barbecues or grills? Is it or?
Boy, it's just getting outside. Denver, the weather there is really beautiful. We talk about over 300 days a year of sunshine. The weather is, just most of the time really wonderful. And so there's a lot of hiking, a lot of fishing, golfing. Almost all the restaurants have seating outside because you can sit outside. I came from Texas, somewhere very hot. You wouldn't bother putting a TV outside or putting a table outside because nobody would sit there. It's just different there. And, one of my favorite things is you talk about golf. One of the days I did what the kind of the perfect Colorado day. I went up with my wife and we skied in the morning. And then we drove back down at about 2 o'clock, and then I went out and I played 18 holes that afternoon. And so going from full ski outfit in the morning to shorts and a t-shirt to go out golf in the afternoon.
Just like Dublin.
Just like Dublin.
Four weather events in one day, at the end of the day. No, because I watch Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
Is Yellowstone from around your area now? Is it?
It's a little bit north of us.
So similar countryside.
Similar countryside.
So I've watched all the Yellowstones the series, and even I watched the Madison, which is a little bit slower and a bit more girly, but the scenery is fantastic, that river, and you're saying fishing, so obviously flying at the Madison River, would that flow by Denver? Wouldn't have a clue on the geography.
It wouldn't be going through Denver, but there's quite a few rivers that kind of cut through the mountains there that I think Colorado has some of the best fly fishing in the United States, I believe. And
there's a fly fishing you do? Do you do fly fishing? Have you done it?
I kind of fly fish like I golf. I have really no idea what I'm doing. But man,
do I just stick or a rod in your hand?
Yes.
Either or a chainsaw.
Yeah. If I catch a fish an hour, I call that winning. And I just like being out in the nature and enjoying it. So a lot of times our rivers in Colorado are kind of at the bottom of a basin of mountains, and so you're just sitting in the river surrounded by mountains, and every once in a while you catch a fish, and it makes it all worth it.
Well, it's good to have a beautiful place to relax, especially after travelling all over the world. Any boxes you'd like to tick? Any areas you'd like to visit that you haven't visited yet?
So this wouldn't be one of the places I want to go back to. My very first memory growing up, we actually lived in Africa when I was very, very young, and one of my first memories was going on safari. And I have never been back, but that's for one of my maybe milestone birthdays. That's one of the things I want to do is go back and do a safari. Nature is changing all the time, and it probably doesn't look now like what it looked like 20 years ago, but it definitely won't look like now what it looks, in 20 years from now.
True, yeah.
And so getting out there to do that, and then my wife has kind of turned me on to scuba diving after we got married. And my father-in-law is a huge scuba diver, goes all over the world. He kind of does a trip a year where he goes and lives on a boat and scuba dives 4 times a day, which is a little much for me, but he has seen some amazing things. And so would love to do that, places like the Great Barrier Reef or some of the unique places that, again, they're kind of evolving, potentially not in a positive way. How do you go see those right now and enjoy that?
True. And what about deep sea diving? Would you like deep sea diving at all? Does that interest you?
Probably not. Deep sea diving is a whole nother deal. I like being able to look up and know that I can still see the sun. There's some comfort in that.
In the States, obviously, you have to be careful of sharks. In Ireland, we don't really have to worry about sharks so much over here. But I know a few divers myself as well, and there's a lot of shipwrecks, particularly out towards
Yeah.
from here, the area, a lot of shipwrecks around Ireland with the history, like, you know, so vintage, like Spanish Armadas as well off the west coast as well, and other parts of Wexford and so on. You'd have old shipwrecks, so it's always a nice place to
Man,
see those.
I've never done. I've always done like coral reefs and stuff like that. I've never done any kind of old ships like that. That would be amazing.
Well, you've got to be fearful of getting trapped and so on, and all that's another side.
It's the risks you take.
It is the risk you take. No, I pardon my voice. I'm just back from Prague myself. I'd like to travel as well. I'm only back from Prague from the lads. We were up singing and giving it loads. So big shout out to the lads. So because I lost my voice the last time we were away, you lost your voice obviously talking to everybody. So I'm trying to do the best I can. You've been an absolute treat in this podcast, James. Thanks very much for agreeing to do it at short notice and not in our usual environment, and it wasn't planned. But we were asked if we could get a podcast. It'd be a shame you being over that you didn't do it. So, Sandy, you'd like to finish up by saying to the audience before you...
I really just thank you. This has been an absolutely fantastic trip. You have an amazing facility, but more importantly, an amazing team. I think you're incredibly blessed, and I'm sure part of it's been strategic over the years of bringing in the right people and really taking care of them. Hearing your story and how you've evolved Accura and kind of the history that's my first time to have heard that story. Okay. For you to kind of explain the whole story there. What an awesome just story of risk taking and just determination that led to this moment, and how many different lives that you've impacted that. And I'm just really, really thankful to be a partner of yours, and really just encourage everyone to come see what you're doing. And man, looking forward to tonight and spending some more time together.
Tonight we're going out for a few beers, a bit of chinwag and a bit of crack agus killed. Yeah, we're bringing to a lovely pub called Lundyfoot's. Not giving them a plug around them, but fantastic place for an atmosphere, proper Irish traditional food with very, very good service. So, James, delighted you come over. Thanks very much. Good seeing you. Thank you.